Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
जया कुंज बिहारी जय राधा जया कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जया कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवराधारी जय गिरिवराधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवराधारी जय गिरिवराधारी जय गिरिवराधारी जय गिरिवराधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So today we will discuss Lord Chaitanya's going to Jagannath Puri, and we will discuss the Danda Banga pastime as a highlight. So my name is Patitapavana Nitai Gauradas. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My friend Aniruddha Seva Prabhu, he invited me to visit Bangalore, and he said we would like you to give a class one day, and I accepted. I'm not very qualified, but I'll try to do some justice so everyone get some benefit.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So we have a good opportunity, a great fortune to be associated with our one of our God brother, His Grace Patitapavana Nitai Gaur Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Welcome to ISKCON South Bangalore Prabhu. So he has come. I was actually on a yatra to the dhams, Udupi, Srirangam, and Tirupati. And he took some treatment, Ayurvedic treatment in Udupi. And I told him that why don't you come to Bangalore and give some association, just even for a few days still. So Prabhu is engineer from Osmania University, and he did his MTech from Electronic Engineering, Illinois University, USA. And he worked in IBM for about 15 years. Then he came back to, he took a voluntary retirement, came back to pursue Shastric studies in Mayapur. He's a bachelor. He lives in Mayapur even today. He has rendered seva in Mayapur, assisting His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj for the TOP exhibits. And he has worked in several departments as well. I hope we'll be greatly benefited with his association for the next few days. So I request him to take this session of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Actually, this is in the prelude to the Nityananda Trayodashi. We have all the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna. There is one verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita that speaks about the Danda Bhanga pastime. It's Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. It's chapter 5, 142 and 143. I'll just chant the shloka and we will chant the translation together. Kapoteshwara dekite gela bhaktagana sange eta Nityananda Prabhu kaila danda bange. Tina kanda kari danda dila bhashana bhakta sange aila Prabhu Mahesha dekina. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the temple of Lord Shiva, known as Kapoteshwara, Nityananda Prabhu, who was keeping his sannyasa staff in custody, broke the staff in 3 parts and threw it into the river Bhargi Nadi. Later, this river became known as Danda Bhanga Nadi. Please repeat with me. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the temple of Lord Shiva, known as Kapateshwara, Nityananda Prabhu, who was keeping his sannyasa staff in custody, broke the staff in 3 parts and threw it into the river Bhargi Nadi. Later, this river became known as Dandabanga Nadi. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The mystery of the sannyasa danda staff of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has been explained by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the order of sannyas from a Mayavadi sannyasi. The Mayavadi sannyasis generally carry one staff or danda. Taking advantage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's absence, Srila Nityananda Prabhu broke the staff into 3 parts and threw it into the river later known as Dandabanga Nadi. In the sannyasa order, there are 4 divisions: Utichaka, Bahudaka, Hamsa, and Paramahamsa. Only when the sannyasi remains on the Kutichaka and Bahudaka platforms can he carry a staff. However, when one is elevated to the status of Hamsa or Paramahamsa, after touring and preaching the Bhakti cult, he must give up the sannyasa staff. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is therefore said Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. 2 personalities, Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, are combined in the incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, considering Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be an extraordinary person, Lord Nityananda Prabhu did not wait for the Paramhamsa stage. He reasoned that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is automatically on the Paramhamsa stage. Therefore, he does not need to carry the sannyasa danda. This is the reason Sri Nityananda Prabhu broke the staff into 3 pieces and threw it into the water. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, when he wrote this verse, he explained that Vrindavan Das Thakur has already explained in detail this verse in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So when he wrote the book, he mentioned in the beginning itself that whatever Vrindavan Das Thakur has explained in great details, he will not touch upon those pastimes, but he will focus on the pastimes that were not discussed so much in elaborate. But this pastime, he does write, give some details, and especially the river where this happened, um, Bargi Nadi or Bhargavi. It's also described as the river Bhargavi. It's in Kamalapur. It's very close to Jagannath Puri. Um, and he gave these details because there was some confusion. Because Vrindavan Das Thakur describes the pastime to be happened by the river Suvarnareka in northern Orissa. So, but then there is Kavi Karnapura who wrote Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak as well, and he describes initially like this, but then he releases a second edition of the same book, Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka, and he clarifies that this pastime actually happened in Kamalapur, and it's by the river Bhargavi. So, according to Nyaya Shastra, what we do is we actually take something the acharyas gives the second time, or even an acharya clarifying it at a later stage, that is to be accepted as the truth. And the one that is mentioned before, we actually ignore that when there is a clarification, when there is a contradiction between two narrations by two different acharyas or the same acharya. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also, when he was reading through Chaitanya Bhagavat, he expressed some doubt that this could not have happened um, by the river Suvarnareka. So he, as our Acharya, he also clarifies that this actually happened by the river Bhargavi in Kamalapur. And there are devotees who wrote some articles also clarifying this and explaining very detailed, in very detailed why it could not be true as per the version of Chaitanya Bhagavat. And it's nice that when the devotees did the research, they bring out a lot of information on the tattva and how to understand how the acharyas describe the pastimes. And so what happens is after taking sannyas, then Lord Chaitanya is brought to Shantipur by tricking him. Lord Nityananda tricks him. He wanted to go to Vrindavan. He wanted to settle down in Vrindavan actually. But Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he actually wanted to bring his mother. He brings his mother, Sachimata, and he wanted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to have some discussion there because Sachimata's heart was very much breaking and she could not take it that suddenly Nimai leaves the house and he took sannyas. So after a discussion, then Lord Chaitanya agrees that he will settle down in Jagannath Puri instead of Vrindavan so that he can have the devotees from Bengal visit him during Rath Yatra, and at least because he cannot go back home after taking sannyas and visit his mother. So at least he would stay close by and his mother would keep a watch on him because devotees are always traveling from Bengal to Jagannath Puri, and she would get news of her son. So when Lord Chaitanya leaves, he takes his very close associates, Nityananda Prabhu, Swarup Damodar, Mukunda Datta, Govinda, Jagadananda Pandit, along with him. And they were traveling towards Orissa, Jagannath Puri. And at different places, there are different people collecting taxes. Like we have tolls these days on the highways. So then there were checkpoints where if you wanted to cross from one state to another, then they would collect taxes. So at one place, they get stopped by this tax collector. And actually, before leaving, Lord Chaitanya asks all his associates whether they are bringing something along with them, and they all reply, no, no, we are not bringing anything with us. We are just coming on our own. To which Lord Chaitanya is very much pleased, because we have given up everything, and um, we have to just depend on Krishna for whatever he provides. We just take it. Otherwise, we just move on with our journey. Um, so he makes sure that nobody is carrying anything with them. And so when they come across this checkpoint where they have to cross this entry point, and they had to deal with this tax collector, and the tax collector says, well, I cannot let you through unless you pay the toll. I don't let anybody through unless you pay the toll. So then Lord Chaitanya breaks down, and he actually cries very profusely. Um, and the tax collector asks him, who are you? Where are you coming from? And why are you crying like this? So Lord Chaitanya explains that I'm a mendicant, and I'm in the renounced order, and I'm going to see my Lord. I have nobody in this world. And he also makes a statement, the whole world is mine. And so but he's in a begging mood. He's asking the tax collector to let him through because he wants to see the Lord. And he actually disowns everybody that were traveling with him. It's very strange the Lord would do like that, because he was speaking for himself, just as he's flying his own airplane as a devotee, and he wants to go see the Lord. And he's speaking for himself that I have nobody in the world, and I'm just a mendicant. I'm all alone. And seeing him cry very profusely and in a pleading manner, then the Lord says, "Okay, I will let you through, but I won't let your associates through." So the Lord walks a little distance, and he sits down on the side of the path, and he's still crying profusely, and he's waiting for his associates also to come through. He's expecting them to speak for themselves. So then when they were pleading, the tax collector, please let us through. Then the tax collector asks them, okay, who are you people? What are you doing? Where are you going? Then they say that sannyasi is our master, and we are following him. We are going to Jagannath Puri to see the Lord. And they were begging him to let him through. Nobody was challenging the tax collector. Nobody was questioning him or um, using any other means to let them through. They were just pleading. They were following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya and doing the same thing that he was doing. So then they were also crying, and then the tax collector looks at Lord Chaitanya, and he was still crying, was sitting there and crying. So he understood that they are all together, and they want to travel together. So then the tax collector couldn't see um, this profuse crying by the Lord and his associates, and so he melts down, and he says, okay, you guys also can go through. I cannot stop you. And he actually asks blessings of Lord Chaitanya. He actually surrenders to the Lord and says, please bless me. You're all very exalted souls, definitely. And I'm very fortunate to have your darshan. So, so he lets everybody through, and Lord Chaitanya actually blesses the tax collector, and he gets the Lord's blessings, and they move forward. And then the first place they reach is by the river. I remember it's Lord Varahadev, where they take darshan of. This is called Yajapur, and it's by the river Vaitarini. And there is a temple of Varahadev, and the Lord offered obeisances to him, and they passed the whole night chanting and dancing, and then they went towards the town of Kataka, or the present day Katak. And Sakshi Gopal, the deity, was residing over there during Lord Chaitanya's time. And there is a little history of Sakshi Gopal and how he was brought from Vijayanagar from South India, and then he stayed at Cuttack for some time. Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Lakshmi Narasimhadev ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And so there is a small story how Sakshi Gopal moved away from Jagannath temple, because when he was brought from Vijayanagar, he was placed in Jagannath temple, and it seems there was some disagreement between Lord Jagannath and Sakshi Gopal, and this is described as prema kalaha, like a quarrel of love. So in order to settle this, the king of Orissa, he constructed a village about 11 miles from Jagannath Puri. It was called as Satyavadi, and Sakshi Gopal was stationed over there. And that's how a new temple was constructed there. And now there is a railway station also. It's called Sakshi Gopal Station. So actually, because it's explained that Vrindavan Das Thakur was following the Lord with his pastimes, and so he took it that this may have happened at a different, because he was hearing the narrations from different people, so he took it like it might have happened at another river. But Swarup Damodar Goswami, he was keeping a track of all the Lord's pastimes, and he explained these pastimes to his disciple Raghunath Das. So Raghunath Das Thakur, he described in turn these pastimes to Krishnadas Kaviraj, and that's how he got the accurate version of actually this pastime being happened at the river Bhargavi. And later, when the pastime happened, the river got to be called as Dandabanga River. So now we will discuss in short this pastime of how this Dandabanga happened. Different acharyas explained in different ways. Of course, we read from Srila Prabhupada that Lord Nityananda Prabhu broke. Actually, this sannyas danda was given to Jagadananda Pandit. The Lord asked him to hold it until he takes a bath in the river Bhargavi and comes back. But the Lord doesn't ask for the staff right after coming back at the same place. They go to the next place where the Lord asks for his staff back. But at this place itself, by Bhargavi River, he sees the Lord is going to take a bath, and he asks Jagadananda Pandit to give him the staff. And he takes the staff and he breaks it into 3 pieces, and he actually throws it into the river. And the devotees get surprised why the Lord behaved in this way, but they don't question him. But so when they go to the next stop and the Lord Chaitanya asks for his staff back, then then Jagadananda Pandit says he's very afraid to narrate what happened. So he just points to Lord Nityananda Prabhu and says, he took the staff from me, and then you better check with him what happened. He doesn't say that Nityananda Prabhu broke the staff. So when the Lord asks, Lord Chaitanya asks Lord Nityananda what happened, where is his staff? So Lord Nityananda comes up with a story, and he says, oh my Lord, what happened was when we took darshan of the Lord at the previous place, we were dancing so much in ecstasy, and both of us fell on this raw sannyasa danda, and that's why it broke into 3 pieces. And I thought, what is the use of it? And I threw it in the river. And he actually begs for forgiveness. Lord Nityananda says, I let you down. I'm sorry. You can punish me. So he's giving the Lord the opportunity to punish him. And Lord Chaitanya, he seems visibly upset and a little angry at Lord Nityananda. And he actually, first he expresses his gratitude. He says, I thank all of you, my dear associates. You have brought me very mercifully to Nilachal. So they have this place is actually just a few kilometers from Jagannath Puri, and they could see the Gopuram, they could see the chakra, and the Lord is already feeling so much ecstasy. So the Lord takes this opportunity to become a little angry, because Lord Nityananda is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of course, Lord Chaitanya knows what's going on. So he's very much aware. And without his sanction, Lord Nityananda Prabhu could have done it. So it's like the two lords are actually they're acting in unison, and it's for the sake of the leela that they are having a discussion, but actually the Lord sanctioned it, and it happened with the full knowledge of the Lord. So we actually take Lord Nityananda Prabhu as the Supreme Lord himself. So why did the Lord do like this? The different acharyas give different explanations. One acharya says that there were no um, uh, Tridandi sannyasis or not non-Mayavadi sannyasis available at that time when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. So he was compelled to take sannyas from an Ekadandi Mayavadi sannyas. So Lord Nityananda was demonstrating that we are actually Ekadandi means like a Advaita philosophy, and two dandas, like two sticks together, it's Dvaita. And sometimes they are demonstrating like this, like they follow Dvaita philosophy, those who carry two sticks. And the three sticks actually mean that Achintya Beda Beda, which is our philosophy, Vaishnava philosophy. Um, so he's Lord Nityananda is demonstrating that we are three dandi sannyasis. We are not ekadandi sannyasis. So Lord Nityananda already set an example because he is Guru Tattva. He's Param Guru for all of us. He's original spiritual master. So he's setting the example that we have to actually carry the sannyasis in our parampara. They need to carry three dandas and not just one danda. So that's one explanation. And another explanation was Lord Nityananda is not happy to see Lord Chaitanya actually take sannyas itself. Like he's not happy that his Supreme Personality of Godhead, why she should take sannyas. So this was there in him because he was there. He went to Katwa with the close associates along with Gadadhar Pandit and Govinda and Mukunda were there when Lord Chaitanya got his head shaven by this barber. And there was a lot of reluctance, but because the Lord wanted this, they went along with him. But there was a little bit of disagreement, or how we can put it, like Lord Nityananda wasn't so much pleased that Lord Chaitanya had to shave his head and take sannyas. So so this came out, like when he broke the Lord, this mood came out that that the Lord doesn't need to carry the sannyas danda. He's, like Prabhupada explains, he's already on the stage of Paramahamsa. So why does he need to carry the sannyas danda? And so we will discuss a little bit about Lord Nityananda in these pastimes. What is his tattva, and what is his, because we have Nityananda Trayodashi coming up in a few days on the 14th on Wednesday. So we'll discuss a little bit about Lord Nityananda's role and what he was doing, and what is his bhava, and who is he representing? What was he? Lord Chaitanya was giving out. It's explained that Lord Chaitanya was giving out Madhurya Rasa, whereas Lord Nityananda was giving out Sakya, the mood of Sakya Bhav. So, but then Lord Nityananda himself, we see he was meditating at Shringar Vat, which is also called as Nityananda Vat. So, but this is the place where this is also called as Rasa Sthali, where actually the Rasa dance took place. So the question comes up, what is Lord Nityananda Prabhu doing at Shringar Vat? The Acharyas explain that Lord Nityananda, the original Sri Balaram, he expands himself as Ananga Manjari to express his, to do some service to Srimati Radharani, because he's in the mood of a Saka to Sri Krishna, and he's in the Sakya Bhava. He has this desire to serve Radharani. So he expands himself as Ananga Manjari, who is Radharani's sister, younger sister, I believe, and she's described as the second Radha, Ananga Manjari, and she is actually the leader of all the gopis. Um, Rupa Manjari is described as the leader of the Mukhya Manjaris. Ananga Manjari is described as the leader of all the Manjaris. So she's taking care of all the Manjaris. So she's assisting in the pastimes of doing service to Srimati Radharani. And in this way, Lord Balaram is expressing his love towards Srimati Radharani. And so the Lord Nityananda, when he was meditating at Shringarvat, it is actually his the aspect of Ananga Manjari who was actually meditating over there. It's explained that it is not Sri Balaram, the feature of Sri Balaram, but actually the feature of Sri Ananga Manjari who was meditating at Shringarvat. I would like to read a little bit from our dear Ayendra Prabhu's book. It's called as The Heart of Transcendental Book Distribution. He explains the tattvas very nicely. And instead of me explaining it, like reading directly, I think will be more nectarian. So he writes, when Gaura's mercy will flood the heart with an aspiration to serve Radha's Vraja Leelas, one will come to appreciate the value of service to the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Just as Gauranga inclusively embodies the bhavas of Krishna's foremost Swarupa Shakti counterpart, Sri Radha, so also Nityananda Rama inclusively embodies the foremost Baladeva Swarupa Shakti Tattva, who appears in Vraja as the younger sister of Radharani, Srimati Ananga Manjari. Balarama's Kali Yuga avatara as Nityananda is markedly more than Baladeva himself in that he, unlike Balarama, can directly relish the internal mood of loving service to the lotus feet of Sri Radha. In Madhurya Rasa, parallel to Gaura's relishment of Radha Bhava, continuation. Service to the lotus feet of Radha in the Madhurya Rasa parallel to Gaura's relishment of Radha Bhava. As previously mentioned, Sri Krishna and his supreme Swarupa Shakti counterpart Sri Radha, though morphologically differentiated, are ontologically one. So also is the case with Baladeva and his topmost Swarupa Shakti expansion Ananga Manjari, from whom Balarama's own personal consorts such as Varuni and Revati expand. All the members of Krishna's family, including Balarama, possess the deepest regard, affection, and love for the sweetest, most eminently love-worthy Srimati Radharani. Yet, owing to certain social constraints, Balarama, as Krishna's older brother, is practically dispossessed of any opportunity to directly express his love for her. So, to fulfill his most confidential desire to serve Radha's lotus feet, he accepts an expanded feminine form as her younger sister. Still, he himself, in his masculine Baladeva Swarupa, is unable to directly relish the experience of being in the position of his Shakti Tattva expansion, just as Krishna is unable to directly relish the moods of Radha. He therefore, in Gaura Leela, accepts the bhava and complexion of his supreme self-same Swarupa Shakti counterpart to experience that which was transcendently impossible in Krishna Leela. Thus, Balarama manifests the form of Nityananda Rama in the same way that Krishna dons his Gaura Swarupa to savor the ultimate loving disposition of Radha in Vipralamba Mahabhava. As Krishna and Balarama are one, so similarly Radha and Ananga Manjari are one. In fact, Ananga Manjari is celebrated as a veritable second Radha. Yet, by the will of Balarama, she acts as Dasya Anudasi in the capacity of Prana Sakhi, Upamanjari of Lalita Sakhi in service of Radharani. Just as Balarama himself functions as servitor godhead to assist Swayam Rupa Krishna in various ways, Balarama as servitor godhead is Adi Guru in the Vatsalya, Sakya and Dasya Rasas. Similarly, Balarama's expanded Madhurya Swarupa Ananga Manjari is the Madhurya Rasa Adi Guru, who most compassionately acts as the liaison linking the jivas with the confidential services of Radha and Krishna. Her position as Radharani's younger sister greatly facilitates this role. This is a hint as to the import of Sri Narottam Das Thakura's statement, Heno Nitai Bine Bhai Radha Krishna Paite Nai. Indeed, it is only by Nitai's boundless mercy upon the most fallen conditioned souls that the Vraja Gopis' super excellent spontaneous devotional bhavas have been made readily accessible to the whole world. Just as Ananga Manjari is a special mercy manifestation of Radha, so Nityananda in the mood of Ananga Manjari is a special mercy manifestation of Gaura in the mood of Radha. By Nitai's special causeless mercy, one becomes free from material attraction, attains the land of Raja, and finds shelter at the lotus feet of the six Goswamis headed by Sri Rupa. By seriously acquainting oneself with the writings of the six Goswamis of Vrindavana and their authorized representatives, one accesses the truths concerning Parakiya Rasamaya Radha Krishna and the appropriate bhajana kriya required for attaining their eternal relationship on the path of spontaneous loving devotion. So even Srimati Radharani is saying that without getting the mercy of Lord Nityananda, you cannot get her mercy. So she's actually directing the devotees to first approach Lord Nityananda to actually get his mercy, and then you can get Lord Chaitanya's mercy and hence Radharani's mercy to get love for Krishna. And we actually follow this process. So those who ignore Lord Nityananda Prabhu and just focus on Lord Chaitanya, or who ignore Lord Nityananda Prabhu and directly try to approach Radha and Krishna, they actually fail, because you cannot get the mercy of even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what to speak of Radha and Krishna. So we have the pastime of Raghunath Das Goswami as well, who was chastised by Lord Nityananda because he was keeping a distance from him. I mean, he did not disrespect him. That's why he was able to get the mercy easily, because Lord Nityananda was seeing like how much he was longing to approach and take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. So he gave his mercy and blessings. So Raghunath Das Goswami could approach Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that is another topic in itself. This is all I had to speak, actually. Devotees are welcome to share your realizations or ask any questions or make comments or corrections. Thank you. Thank you.
Shastric references and fatwa about this, and especially the last part of the distinction between the Balram, Ananga Manjari, and Srimati Radharani herself. That was excellent, very nice. That so the bottom line is that if you have to get Krishna's mercy, you should seek Radharani's mercy. But if you have to get Radharani's mercy, you have to first seek
Lord Nityananda.
Nityananda's mercy. So like that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then Nityananda. So like that, it's wonderfully explained. My question is that when you said that the first river, which is that Suvarna something, right?
Suvarna Rekha.
But where does that lie? Where does it in terms of geography? Is it?
It's
close to-
described as northern Orissa. So it's far from Jagannath Puri.
Okay.
It's when they enter Orissa, this is the first place. Actually, I had one of my friends staying on the other side of Suvarna Rekha, so I actually visited this river, not the
Okay.
exact place probably, but it is actually flowing through Orissa, and it is towards the I can say towards the first part of their journey in Orissa.
Okay.
Yeah, but then when the actual pastime happened, it was much closer to much closer to Jagannath Puri,
Oh,
and the next stop where the Lord actually asks the question, "Where is my danda?" They could actually see Jagannath Puri from a distance, and
yeah.
the Lord, little details I have ignored is the Lord takes this opportunity to actually chastise Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and he actually, when he expresses his gratitude, he says, "From here, I will go alone.
Mm. Yes.
You come on your own,"
Yeah, on your
because he wanted to go see the Lord without any distraction or without any probably any talking or like that. When we are also going on parikrama, sometimes we prefer to walk alone so we can actually meditate on the katha that we just heard. We can do
Yeah.
some mananam. And so the Lord was in this mood that he wanted to go alone. So he said, you don't follow me immediately, you come after me. So he took this as an opportunity to kind of distance himself and
Yes.
go to the Lord. Yeah.
Prabhu, I have one more question. Actually, the danda represents, it has got a very high significance for a sannyasi. So how is that the Lord broke the danda? I mean, how do we understand this? What is this, real crux of this matter? Because that is a symbolic representation. It's very, very highly revered.
Mhm.
But how is that the danda gets broken? The two of Lord.
Because how Prabhupada explains is you can only give up the danda when you reach the stage of hamsa. Right? There are 4 stages in sannyasa. Somebody remembers? Kutishaka, Bahutaka, Samsa, and Paramahamsa. So when you come to the 3rd stage, then you can actually give up the danda. So if the Lord were to carry the sannyas rod, then it would show that he is kind of a neophyte in sannyas stage because he's carrying the danda, but he's such an exalted personality that he's already displaying the ecstatic symptoms of a Paramahamsa. He's Supreme Lord, but even as a devotee, he was already displaying very much ecstatic symptoms. So how can he carry the danda and show himself as the Lord? Doesn't mind doing that, but Lord Nityananda doesn't like Lord Chaitanya to be represented in that fashion. So I mean, we can understand like this, like why. And Prabhupada is explaining that Lord Chaitanya is already on the stage of Paramhamsa, even as a devotee, like his role as a devotee. But like, so why? So Lord Nityananda was angry that why he should carry a sannyas rod, because he's trying to glorify the Lord in the highest stage. So anybody can add something.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful nectarian. Just a question or for this pastimes, Dandabhanga pastimes, as a practicing devotee, what lesson we can take? Like we can just continue what Prabhu asked the question. Nityananda Prabhu's behavior to the Lord. What lesson we can take, or how do we understand that?
So the pastime we discussed when Lord Chaitanya was started to travel to Jagannath Puri, and he was stopped by the tax collector. Thank you very much for the question. Actually, this actually completes the class because we have to always discuss our role as practicing devotees. So this is a very good question. So we can see that earlier in Navadvip, when the Chand Kazi actually broke the Mridanga and he tried to stop the Sankirtan, the Lord was really upset and angry, and he collected hundreds of thousands of the residents of Navadvip, and he marched in a protest, civil disobedience to actually, and he walked up to, and the kind of sounds they made and the torches they were carrying, it was a great uproar and ferocious. The Lord was in the mood of a lion, and then he went, and Lord Nrsimhadev already did his part in scaring Chandkazi. So then there was a nice discussion, but then the Lord was ready to punish him if actually if he was not taking a humble mode and actually asking for forgiveness, the Lord was ready to punish him. But in this stage also, this is also the Lord was still going to see Lord Jagannath, and he was stopped. So he could have actually, he had some associates. The tax collector was just one person. He could have made a protest. He could have actually become very aggressive, but he actually took a different approach completely. So we can see that in our lives also, we need to judge properly what action we should take at what step, like should we use diplomacy, should we make a bigger protest like we had. I was just looking at this back to Godhead picture in the morning, and it shows the injustice that was done to the Vaishnavas in Bangladesh. And the question comes up, have we done enough that it won't repeat again? So what methodology should we use for such a situation? And on a personal level, the Lord displayed a completely different mood. He took a humbler approach. It was just about him, right? Like the tax, of course, he had his associates, but he was acting like um, a practicing devotee, a sadhaka, who was flying his own airplane, completely responsible for himself. And he had to use certain means. And also, because of his behavior, he could make the other person melt his heart and actually seek shelter and become more humble. So every time if we just protest, we will be seen like, oh, these Hare Krishnas, they always demand, protest, they so it will show a different picture. But on a personal level, if we just behave, take a humble mode and actually show that we are just doing devotional service, and we just want the means that facilitate our progress in bhakti, and we are just wanting the minimum, right? How it's described is we take from this material world the minimum thing, minimum possessions, simple lifestyle, the minimum that we need to move forward. We don't demand so much. And Prabhupada also said that his vision for the movement was actually a great percentage, 90-95% devotees should actually live in the farms. And every temple should have an associated farm that will facilitate simple living. Only the devotees who are maintaining the temple, doing book distribution, making new devotees, they should reside in the cities, in the temples. But everybody else with their families, actually, they are supposed to live on the farms. And then the people will see our lifestyle and they will join by millions. Prabhupada said that they will join by huge numbers when they will lose a taste in material life, or when something like this corona happens. Where do they look forward? They will look forward to us, that that this is an ideal example, and this is what I would like to do. So we are not prepared, so we have a lot to do in that regards. So all these things we can take as a takeaway. So for us, like what we can do to help Prabhupada, to help ourselves. So you're free to add anything also. We have a few more minutes if somebody wants to add.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, there is one question from the chat from MS Rani Mataji. Question is, if you want to get the Nityananda's mercy, should we seek the Guru's mercy?
Sorry, can somebody repeat what he said? Oh, yes, of course. Lord Nityananda is our original spiritual master. So our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, all the acharyas, our own Diksha Guru, if it is not Srila Prabhupada, then he is actually representing Lord Nityananda. So the mood is the same. Lord Nityananda wants to deliver Krishna. He wants to deliver Krishna to us. Our spiritual master also wants to deliver Krishna to us. The only business of our spiritual master is the spiritual master is described as a transparent medium through which one gets the mercy to attain Krishna prema. Ultimately, we get the mercy to do our sadhana. We get the mercy. We get the spiritual strength because these three things are there. Pranipatena, pariprashnena, sevaya. So without these three things, we cannot get the mercy of the spiritual master. And Lord Nityananda Prabhu gives his mercy when we do these three things. So, so yes, it's a good question. We have to approach Lord Nityananda through, again, the Guru Parampara, which ultimately boils down to our own spiritual master, because he's a living personality. And we take Srila Prabhupada as a living personality also. Srila Prabhupada very emphatically said, somebody asked him, what happens to the movement after you die? And Prabhupada said, I will not die. Don't worry, I will not die. I will be living through my instructions and through my books.
Can I make a request?
Sorry, Prabhu.
Can I make a request?
Request?
Hello?
Please go ahead.
Can I make a request?
Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead.
This is like this, that will you be staying till Monday?
I'm leaving Sunday, unfortunately. I'm going back to my Sunday, right? Yeah, I'm going back on Sunday.
All right. It's okay then. We thought we'll hear you on Nityananda Trayodasi. Never mind, maybe next time.
Okay. Nityananda Trayodasi is on Wednesday. Monday, is it? Sorry.
Yeah.
14th Monday. I'm not so qualified, Prabhu. I got a small topic and I was just able to prepare, but I'm sure there will be qualified Vaishnavas. I hope I answered the devotee's question. Yeah, so so we have to do these three things, and then we will definitely Lord Nityananda will be pleased, because Krishna, everybody else sees externals, the Lord sees internal. He's described as Bhavagrahi Janardana. So he's always seeing inside, in the heart, whether it is, pure, our intentions, whether our intentions are pure, with what intentions are we serving our Guru or Srila Prabhupada? Because again, going back to your question, it all boils down to attitude. And Srila Prabhupada is saying, wrote in the preface to Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita, that the success in spiritual life is just depending on the attitude of the practitioner. So what we learn by discussing these pastimes is the attitude is the key. Like, how did Lord Chaitanya behave on a personal level as a practicing devotee? Of course, we cannot imitate him, but we can definitely follow in his footsteps. So, is that a question? Okay. So, so then we should keep good attitude, and we should be very clear in our intentions. We should not confuse ourselves, and we should not confuse our spiritual master, and we should not confuse the Lord seated in our heart. When the intentions are clear, the attitude is spiritual master is there to deliver Krishna, and I should not derive other benefits, even institutional benefits, any benefits, monetary benefits, anything like that, anything to, prove our point, or put somebody down, or any reason on the material plane, politics, diplomacy, anything like that. It's actually taking us away from Nityananda Prabhu. It's taking us away from our spiritual master, because one thing is, our intentions are not clear, that that the main focus, the core of our heart should be that we become humble and tolerant, so that we can get the mercy. Because we can feel like we are a very good devotee and we have so many qualifications, but when we read through Chaitanya Charitamrita, who is getting the mercy? Somebody who is actually feeling disqualified is getting the mercy. So so if we go to the Lord, and if we are in this conscience, Lord is seeing everything in the heart. Outwardly we may be very humble, but actually inside we are thinking, I'm born in a high family, high birth, or high education, or anything that we see a material qualification. This is actually a disqualification. And the qualification is feeling disqualified, is actually getting the qualification. And this has to be done feelingly. This has to be done very realistically, that I'm actually disqualified. And it's very easy to do this because we know that we are feeling very much qualified. So when we hear the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Narottam Das Thakur, they are saying they are disqualified, being very qualified. So we can go in front of the Lord and we can say, I'm actually feeling very qualified. I'm actually feeling that I have this, this, and this, so I should get your mercy. But I'm a fool to think like this. We can say this much to the Lord. I'm very puffed up. I'm not humble. I'm not tolerant. I'm complaining all the time, and I'm deserving all these side products that are coming from bhakti, and I'm feeling satisfied with them. My karmas are getting destroyed. So the klesha, the disturbance from the kleshas are getting minimized. So I'm feeling very satisfied. So all these are actually becoming a disqualification, because then we are becoming complacent in our sadhana. So we can actually approach the Lord and say, I'm feeling like this, like this, like this. But then I'm thinking these are my qualifications, but they're actually acting as disqualifications. So Lord, please help me realize that they are actually disqualifications, and help me feel disqualified, actually really disqualified. Because until we get to the stage of feeling disqualified, we will not get the qualification to receive Lord Nityananda's mercy, because he's actually seeing very strictly. He's a spiritual master, and he's actually seeing very strictly, in the sense your mood. He's giving mercy. We all got some mercy. That's why we are here, right? We are practicing. We have got some facilities. We got Srila Prabhupada's mercy. We have the books. So we all have some mercy. But did we get the full mercy of the Lord? This is the question we need to ask ourselves. Did we get the full mercy, where we can actually relish these pastimes more deeply? Like, can we actually taste the honey that's inside the jar, not just lick on the outside of the bottle? Am I actually licking the real honey? So then we have to ask ourselves, what is going wrong? So so our prayer should be, actually, when we struggle, Krishna is pleased. When we actually struggle in our sadhana, Krishna is seeing this, and is actually feeling very pleased. We may think that we are not doing great, but just struggling in our sadhana, just doing what Prabhupada asked us to do, um, because we need to get this special mercy. We all want to get special mercy of Prabhupada, of Lord Nityananda. So then we have to stand out. Prabhupada said book distributors will directly go back home, back to Godhead. So we have to do something special for Prabhupada, like some special service. So, and we can actually approach the Lord and we can ask him, what is my service? We can ask our guru, or we can ask Prabhupada, or we can ask Krishna himself. Like, I want to get a realization of what is my service. What service will I do? Because Prabhupada said that we have to make the instruction of the spiritual master our life and soul, as dear as our life and soul. And this will get us the mercy. When we make the instruction, every one of us have a service. We have to actually find out what is this service, and then make this instruction our life and soul, and then execute this service with all our heart. Then the special mercy is bestowed on us through this process. And it's explained, Prabhupada is explaining this in so many purports, why it's very essential to make the instruction of the spiritual master as dear as our life and soul. So if we meditate on this, we can conclude the class, and we can make the necessary prayers to actually understand this. And certainly the Lord will guide all of us. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thanks, Prabhu, Patitapavana, Nitai, Gaura, Prabhu, for giving this wonderful session. and we are greatly benefited by this. So for Prabhu's spiritual benefit, we'll chant one time Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can we get the darshan of their lordships? And proper darshan also, Prabhuji.